Hi, and welcome to the Happy Progress Podcast. I'm Alex Harrison. Today we're here with Mike C-Roc. How you doing, Mike?
What's up, Alex?
All right. To get started, does progress equal happiness to you?
Absolutely. I'm a miserable jerk when I'm not progressing or creating or building. I don't know if that's the right answer, but that's what it means to me.
It makes you feel fulfilled that you're getting stuff done and serving. Is this kind of what you mean?
Yeah, I have a saying, thrust is a must, which I mean, I have to be moving forward. And of course, that ties into my rocket fuel concept, which we'll talk about.
Well, Mike has a great podcast called What Are You Made Of? Super inspirational, and he helps people grow by finding and understanding how to convert setbacks into rocket fuel for their future. He's been named as a top business leader to follow in 2020. And now we're going to talk a little bit about 2021. This year is going to hopefully, change compared to last year. But Mike, what are you made of?
Man, you asked that question. That's my question I always ask. And I don't think I've answered that question probably since the first episode of my podcast. It's rocket fuel, man. I mean, I have learned the concept to become unstoppable and indestructible. And to clarify on that, I just know that in life, when I have a goal or vision, the only thing stops us is it's not the encouraging people. It's not the wins and successes you have. And when the days you feel good, it's all the negatives, the letdowns, discouragement, and the toxicity. And if you can find a way not to just remove that stuff, but be able to store it in your tank and not your trunk where it weighs you down, convert it into rocket fuel, you can obviously not just survive, but you blast off into another world. So thrust is a must for me, as I mentioned before. I have to be moving forward, and I'm made of rocket fuel, brother.
Nice. So that rocket fuel becomes your momentum for ultimate success and growth. Where really what resisting the most is probably the things that you should probably do the most. And in the end, you end up learning more about yourself, pushing further, and then being able to help others along the way.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that when you're talking about getting back through things, like resilience is a word that pops to mind, but a lot of times, people think about resilience. The definition of resilience is getting back to original form after a setback or difficulty. That's not really powerful enough for me. We gotta be able to blast through and become better, bigger, faster, stronger. And that's where the growth you're talking about comes in. So a lot of people use resiliency a lot after a year of 2020 for some people. And that's not powerful enough, man.
Yeah. So what setbacks have you turned into rocket fuel?
Well, let's go way back 30 some years ago. I came from a broken home. I don't really remember my parents ever together. And they both remarried and had other kids and all that. But during that time when I was a youngster, man, it was a tough environment. Now, I could have had it worse, don't get me wrong, but it was very tough with a lot of conflict going on, a lot of broken people, broken mindsets. I'm sitting there a lot of times as a kid looking up at my parents and step parents and wondering, like, man, people really act like why do they, I can figure this out. Why can't they, and I was very observant as a young child. Well, when I was 8 to 11, I lived with my dad, and it was a time when there was more conflict than usual going on, jealousy between the step parents and conflict with child support and not alimony, but the custody, all different kinds of things like that. So then you get everybody's different agendas in there. It's not just my mom and dad splitting up. It's down the step parents and the other kids, and it just convolutes the things and really complicates things. And as a kid, I'm in there watching this and trying to figure it all out. And from 8 to 11, I went through a really tough time, psychologically, mentally abused. And just, when abuse happens, a lot of times you're not as a victim of it, you're not really sure if you have a part in it. You're not it's really confusing. And I just knew that I wasn't in a situation where it was conducive to happiness or success. It just at 11, I figured this out. And so I decided to ask my mom to file court papers to get me out of that situation. And she did. And she told me, if I do this, you can't flip flop. You need to stick to your guns. Being stubborn is a good thing when it's on the right thing.
Right.
And, I like definitions, Alex. So stubborn, I looked up this word recently because I wanted to start wearing the badge of honor, being stubborn and hard-headed, because I was called that my whole life. And the definition of stubborn, there's a part in there that says perversely unyielding. And so stubborn has a lot of negative connotation that comes along with it for a lot of people. But to me, perversely unyielding I could say persistence, right? But that word goes in one ear and out the other because people say it all the time. But when I say stubborn, it wakes people up like, wait a minute, stubborn's not a good word. Yes, it is. Perversely unyielding. And so I remember that my mom told me, stick to your guns. When you believe in something, you need to be stubborn about it, sticking to your guns, because people will try to talk you out of it, or they will try to talk you out of just to justify their position in life or match their agenda. So I remember that. And so my dad got filed or served court papers when I came home from school one day. Of course, I was scared to death, and I saw those in his hand when I came in the door, and he said, go to your room. And I sat there and waited for about 5 minutes, which felt like 5 hours. And my dad was my hero. He's had a masonry business. He laid brick, block, concrete, big forearms, rough hands. He always carried a wad of $100 bills in his pocket. And I looked up to it, had a rubber band around it. And I thought that was cool. He was a successful, hard worker. And I saw what money got me and got us. And, he came back to confirm that the court papers I had something to do with, and I wanted to do that. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, your mom doesn't have it that well. Like she's just getting married for a third time. She doesn't have money. We have money here. You're taken care of. What do you need? And I remember her saying, stick to my guns. So I just said, you know what? I'm not really discussing this. I made my decision. Mm-hmm. And then he says to me, okay. He takes that wad of $100 bills out of his pocket. He crumples up one of the bills and throws it at me and says, you're going to need this then when you're living on the streets with your mother. And when I was 11, that happening was, a dark feeling came into me at first. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, man. Like, it's not going to be a situation where I go there and then come here every other week. Like, what's the deal here? Is it like throwing in the towel? But, the stubbornness kicked in, and I thought to myself at that moment, like, you're not dictating my future. Like, I got that. Mm-hmm. I'm the one that's going to determine that, not you. And I thought that to myself. And the second thing I always thought was, my mom imprinted in my mind at a young age that I was going to be an influencer and a leader. I didn't know what that meant, even 3, 4, 5 years old. But I always, when somebody imprints something into your mind, good and bad, generally what happens, you start thinking about that, you start saying that, talking like that, you start acting like that. So I noticed throughout my life, I've always been a people builder or helper. And so I thought to myself at that moment, because I thought I was in an ordinary situation, that I was going to be able to somehow help people that have been given up on. And so all my life, being around broken people, suicide, drug addicts, alcoholics, all that stuff, I just felt like I wasn't going to settle for that, and I was going to do something about it. Mm-hmm. So for 30 years, I've been riding off of that. That's the setback that I can really remember, the first earliest one. Obviously, all of our lives, we all have them, and I've always converted. And about 3 years ago, I really became aware. I did a self-assessment, and I kind of audited what is going on in my life. Like, there's something different about me. I don't know what it is. Like, I can't relate to a lot of the people around me because they get held up in setbacks and they paralyze, and I'm blowing past them. And what is that? If I could bottle this and sell it, like, what is it? Mm-hmm. And that's what I've came up with, the rocket fuel concept of convert setbacks, become unstoppable. Nice. And that's, give you a little background there.
It totally makes sense to me. So your podcast, what are you made of? You've interviewed dozens and dozens of different entrepreneurs on challenges and setbacks that they've had in their careers or their growth. What trends have you seen across them that have really propelled them to apply some of these setbacks actually into their lives?
Yeah, it's a common theme. We all have it. We all need it. And, I think that converting setbacks into rocket fuel is a proactive approach. And this is what I've seen is people were prepared for those things. When they weren't prepared is when they got stuck. Mm-hmm. And my mentor, Grant Cardone, always says that the market will punish the unprepared. And what he means by that is when you're unprepared, you can roll along and survive for a little bit, but the market will get to you. The life and world will get to you at some point if you're not prepared. Right. So proactive approach is what it takes to be able to do this. And I've seen this numerous times with all of my guests, is that the times that they were proactive is the time that they were able to convert and not just get back to original form, but blast off into a place where they never thought they could get to.
So now we're in a new year, 2021. Crazy how time is flying here and there. Are you a big resolutions guy? Do you have any big goals for the upcoming year? And what advice would you give to someone who's really preparing for a successful this year coming up?
Yeah. So I know, to me, time is man-made, right? So the year is something and hours are something where people, they set this in place so that we can be at the same place at the same time when we need to and measure, right? To me, the new year doesn't mean much to me in that way. I look at things daily, and then from there, I lay it out from there. But I really think that right now's the time, if you haven't already, is to start thinking about what your future's all about. Stop being reactive, start being proactive. Why wait till the new year, and why wait till any time besides now? Like, now is always the best time to me.
Yeah,
I like to work fast. I like to speed up things. I think that, we're talking about growth, right? I think that, if we focus on being urgent with our actions and decisions and patient when it comes to seeing results, I think we're all better off. I'm thinking most people get it backwards.
Yep. It's a great point. Patience is something, because we all have these big dreams and these goals for successes, and of course we want to make more money and get more reach. As humans, we want to be noticed and see those results. But it gets you to really think differently about how you go through life. What are you intentionally doing every day to put yourself in a position of success, regardless if it's a new year or not? What intentional changes would you suggest to someone who they can make daily, so it could really start to see some compound growth? Is it a mindset, or is it an action that they should take?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. I mean, to me, I want to be the cause of things. And then also be a part of the effect. Like when we think things and have ideas, if we don't do anything with it, then it doesn't cause anything. But when you mix the thought with action, then you have a cause and effect. And that's what I always like to focus on. I think that, one of the things Alex, I always look at is that I've been put on this planet. We all have, but I'm like talking about myself for a second. I've been put on this planet with a certain amount of potential, or blessings, whatever people call it, depending on their belief system. I believe I have a creator to put me here. I have unlimited and untapped potential and blessings that were provided to me. The only thing stopping me from accessing those or seeing those is my mind. And, some people hear that, and the ones that hear that and think to themselves, well, geez, that's kind of crazy. And wow, I mean, you can't achieve anything. They're the ones that are limited right now.
Right.
And that's okay. We've all been there. But the thing is that I feel like every day I wake up, if I don't act on going after my blessings and potential and proving that I'm blessed and have a lot of potential and sprinkling it around everyone, that I feel like it's disrespectful to the creator that put me here with the abundance that I've been given. And, when you believe in a higher power, you believe in something that is omnipotent, which means all power. So why do we sit here every day when we wake up and think about the fact that we're limited and we can't do things? And so to me, intentionality is to go after my potential every single day with no limits and just see how far I can take things.
Right. That makes sense. Do you have any practical tools or books that you can recommend to others so they can start to implement this into their life?
Yeah. This one changed my life. The 10X rule, for those of you watching. Some of you have heard it, some of you haven't. Some of you seen Grant Cardone. Some of you think that he's brash and puts it out there a lot. And he's an expert marketer. I mean, it gets attention, and money follows attention. And the 10X rule changed my life because I have an animal. I've always had this animal thing inside of me. I've always thought that I could accomplish great things, and I was going to make a big impact and help so many people. And all these years, though, from when I was 11 till I was, I hate to say this, even 40 something. I don't regret it, but 40 something. I got caged up. I got calloused. My animal wasn't allowed out because I was worried about what people think. I was worried about pushing people away. Most of the people around me didn't think the same way. And I felt like I was the crazy one. When I read the 10X rule, I realized that I'm not the crazy one. I'm not the one with the problem. I'm only having the one with the problem if I stay caged up. So it gave me validation to be the animal that I am. And so that book, if you haven't read it, or if you've read it and you haven't studied it, I recommend, of course, doing that. And then, of course, the Rocket Fuel book that's coming out is aligned perfectly with 10X because 10X talks about thinking bigger, anticipating bigger problems. But Rocket Fuel talks about those problems that they're your fuel, and you just convert them and then you become unstoppable. So those are the ones I would recommend. And one more good one. Beyond Positive Thinking by Dr. Robert Anthony. Powerful book. It's not real thick, very dense though. The content in it is, you could read a page and just meditate on that one page for a long time.
Right.
And it talks about the power of your mind, and that we create our thoughts, we create things after that, after our thoughts, and we're the ones that control things. And we just need to understand that. But, you know, I have a mortgage company that I run a division for in Nations Lending, it's called. It's all over the country. We're based out of the Mid-Atlantic and Miami. And I have 40 employees that I constantly work. That's my vehicle, is the mortgage, but I work on building people. And we're not just concerned with just the transaction of the mortgage. We're looking at every day, how can we build the people in our organization? How can we help build the people that we work with every day, customers and referral partners? And so that's one of my major focuses. Beyond that, I have the What Are You Made Of podcast, where I bring guests on to share their stories of how they converted things into rocket fuel. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I got numerous things. I don't know how many you want me to get into, but these, and then the book Rocket Fuel, I guess I'm an author now, because
when does that come out?
February 7th, it comes out. It's available for pre-sale right now. MikeCroc.com/book. MikeCroc.com/book. But it's coming out February 7th. But now, like, I wrote that. I don't even, honestly, Alex, it's a crazy thing, man. I've never been good at writing. I've never liked it. I never liked English. I was a 4.0 student, but I never liked English. And just to think the fact that I wrote a book blows me away still to this day. So, yeah, man, it's crazy when you put your mind to something and really think big and want something bad enough, you can do anything you want. Like, I really feel like you, me, anybody, we can do whatever we want. We just have to understand that we're capable of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And take action. You gotta put the pen to paper, or I did write 2 books, and I don't enjoy writing or sitting down and forcing myself to write every day either, but I can talk and tell stories, especially to myself, because, me talking to other people is I'm sorry sometimes, guys, but
congratulations, by the way, because I know that journey.
But when I wrote my books, I basically wrote the table of contents, and then I spoke it every single chapter, and I paused, and then I had the whole thing transcribed, and that was essentially my rough draft. So trust me, if I'm able to write 2 books, you can do it too. It's really a great way to get your name out there, get on to Amazon, and it's like a big business card, right? It just bring you leads.
Yeah, but when you were talking, I did the same thing. I did it through my podcasts were transcribed, but also got on Word and did the dictate feature where you push that. But I think it's still like, there are still times where I'm just like, man, that sounds like crap, or that I'm repeating myself, or everybody knows this. Mm-hmm. I get that. I don't know if you dealt with that too. Like when you're trying to teach people something or coach people on something, like, everybody knows this, because you've been using it so long.
Right.
But you realize it, and I don't know what the term for that is, but you realize that people don't know that. Right. Whatever that concept is.
We have this practice that we go into because I work for a big agency, and we go to sell to very big enterprises, and you kind of go in there thinking that, they're going to know all this stuff, and it comes down to nobody knows anything. Everybody's kind of learning everything for the first time each time, and how it kind of represents to your own world. So it's very easy to get self-imposter syndrome and have self-doubt. But when you start to realize that, everyone's basically on the same level playing field, and most of these other people are average. And more than likely, if you're listening to this podcast or listening to C-Roc, you're the 1% who's actually taking action and applying this to your life. And that's really what sets you the difference for you in growth, and how you can dramatically make an impact on others as well. It really takes something different to get your mind to tick like that, and to be consistent about delivering great content over time.
Yeah. I mean, consistency is the key, man. Mm-hmm. Consistency, understanding that, quantity beats quality every day of the week. Mm-hmm. And, one thing I always like to talk about, like I saw with your podcast, talking about growth and consistency that leads to a little chip away at it. I was thinking about like looking in the mirror when I was like 235 at one point. People think I'm taller for some reason. When they see me in person, they're like, oh shit, you're short. But I'm 5'7". I'm jacked though. I mean, I'm wide, but the first time I really lost weight, when I got chubby, after we had our first child, my wife and I lost 35 pounds, maybe even more. I think it was maybe 45 pounds, but I was chubby, man. I had a chin. I mean, it was bad, double chin. So, but I remember like taking that selfie when I first started. And then every day to go by, I'd be hopping on a scale, looking in the mirror, couldn't see anything, man. I was just like frustrated, but I kept at it. And then before you know it, 6 weeks go by, 3 months go by. And then before you know it, take another selfie, get on a scale, and wow, it didn't happen like gradual that I could see. It felt like it was bang all at once. It took a while. And I relate that so much to anything that we do in life, is that just keep doing it. Just keep chipping away. Don't worry about anything. Don't even think about it. Just commit and keep doing the actions. And then you don't even recognize yourself in 6 months.
Absolutely. It's about that intentional small progress every day that could really lead to that compound growth. One day it's all just going to, come to fruition, and you're going to start to really see the results and get that achievement that you're really looking for.
Yeah. Urgency with the actions, patience with the results.
I like that. Mike, what's one final piece of advice that you could provide for entrepreneurs to really gain accelerated growth in the next couple of years?
I just to share something with you. I don't know how many people know this or not that follow me, but I only started this journey that I'm on maybe about 1.5 to 2 years ago, and have had massive growth, massive results. And the reason I did it is because when I made a decision to do it, I had a great purpose behind me. I was driven, obviously, but more importantly than anything, I believed, and then I was committed, sold out, like obsessed. And whatever you do, you need to go and just burn the ships, like be obsessed about it. People should say that you are obsessed. You talk about this too much. Like my wife, was driven nuts. And I'm married almost 18 years. And I have to be concerned about, taking care of my marriage and making sure that my wife's happy too. But I have a dream, man. I have a dream and a mission, and I need to really paint that picture for her and everybody around me. But you got to be obsessed. Every single person I've interviewed, all the billionaires that I've met, they're all obsessed with their mission. And, so that's the biggest piece of advice I'll give you is believe, commit, and then be obsessed. One thing I'll give you real quick too, when I started studying Grant and I was mentored by Grant, I immersed myself in his content. Like, we don't drink the Kool-Aid, we swim in it. And when I did that, my kids, my wife, everybody's like, man, Grant lives in our house. I had YouTube videos on the time, training videos. I was reading books, just obsessed because I needed to get the information into me. And I didn't listen to what they were saying because they only thought I was obsessed because they weren't obsessed about something. They were really talking about themselves and their level of lack of obsession reflecting on me. So I needed to understand that. I needed to convert that into fuel and keep going, because I knew I was on the right track when people started saying that to me.
Awesome, man. Well, definitely seems like you're on the right path. I love the energy. I love the vibe and the message that you're sharing for everyone. Let's have an amazing 2021, and let's just keep on making happy progress. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you for making happy progress part of your day. How are you going to take advantage every day? Please let Alex know by visiting the website happyprogress.com. Together we will prove that progress equals happiness.